Okay, so Dan and I are on Google Hangouts. We should be using this more recently and are more in the future. And we had an email that went out maybe a few weeks ago. We asked some questions of you to say, can you email some questions in that you want us to answer on email as well as on video? And so this is our attempt at doing that. So I'm going to ask Dan a question here that came in from one of the readers, and he's going to answer that, and then we'll kind of go back and forth discussing this topic. So the first question, I'll just read it from my screen.
Okay.
It says, since the T-ball days, my son has always had a problem with arm drag. This, in my opinion, has been the leading culprit to elbow and shoulder issues. His other pitching movements, leg lift, balance point, alignment to the target, etc., from a mechanical standpoint are fine. What would you recommend doing to decrease or eliminate his arm drag problem when pitching? Any advice would be appreciated. So if you want to tackle that one.
Absolutely. Usually with arm drag, it's usually because of what your front side is doing. For example, if you're opening up too soon, like right after foot strike, or right at foot strike when that front foot lands, you should be nice and closed. Your shoulder is still closed, not open when that front foot hits. Usually when kids open here, they're going to rotate their upper body before their lower half, and their arms just going to lag behind them. Especially, and sometimes when kids come down like this, instead of keeping their head level all the way through the delivery, your head's supposed to be level until release of the baseball. A lot of kids will come straight down like this, and their arm will lag behind. So to avoid that, what you want to do is make sure you lift to equal and opposite, which we explain in those videos. Lift here instead of pulling your front elbow. So that'll help. And typically I give a drill where the students will just simply bring their thumbs down. If you can see that, bring their thumbs down like this and lift up like this instead of pulling, of course. And then when it comes to keeping their head level, you just want to make sure that they don't lean down as they throw.
Now, so when you teach it, when you teach kids to separate front arm, so I'm left-handed, so it's this arm. Do you teach them to lift with the shoulder? Does it matter where that hand is in positionment? I mean, what do you do with that?
That's a great question. We call it, in fact, I learned this from Tom House as well. But we call it equal and opposite. Some people call it the flex T position. I like to call it equal and opposite, and here's why. When you're lifting your arm up here, you want to make sure that your front glove arm matches what your throwing arm is doing. So if you can see that, my throwing arm is here, so I'm going to take my front glove arm and match that angle. So wherever I lift up at, right here, that's where I'm going to be. I don't want to be straight. I don't want to keep my front glove arm straight or bent like this. But it is, I mean, even if a kid bends his arm a little bit differently, okay, but at least he's level here, that's going to be much better than pulling that front elbow. But again, you want to make sure you're completely balanced and your glove arm matches the angle of your throwing arm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but you don't care where the glove hangs. You know, some kids, maybe it's pretty steep, some are flat, some of the glove's up. As long as the angle is consistent, you don't necessarily care where that glove is.
No, you're right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the glove is. I can have my glove down right here. I can have it up here, as long as the angle remains the same.
Good. So then the guy also asked, you know, he said this is, in his opinion, a culprit to arm injury. Would you agree with that?
I would, especially if you pull your front side too early. The key to pitching, the key to throwing the baseball is having your hips rotate before your upper body. If your upper body swings open too soon, you're definitely going to cause problems with your arm. The back side of your shoulder, typically, your elbow. So yeah, definitely going to cause some arm problems there.
So if you have, I mean, if you're a parent and you know you hear this, you're watching this video and you want to help your kid, or at least to see if he's doing this, if you correctly identify that your son had this issue, how would you go about yourself fixing that?
You know, just teaching him the basics, just bringing his thumbs down and making sure he's lifting instead of pulling. And then there are other drills that I would give him as well. There's a knee drill that fits perfectly on. I share that. We both share that, Nate, in that DVD series that we have, that knee drill. But the first thing that I would start with is I'd have him stand up. I'm going to try to do this here. I'm probably going to I get cut off there a little bit, but
Yeah, scoot back.
I'll scoot back. That's as far as I can go. But I just want to make sure that my hips, can you see that?
Yep.
I want to make sure that my hips go before my upper body does. So I just have them do this drill right here where they rotate and come forward. Okay, they don't just rotate their hips like this. They rotate and come forward. And a lot of people, they call this the rocker drill because John Rocker for the Atlanta Braves used to do this. And you gain a lot of speed. A lot of people call this delayed shoulder rotation as well. But I just make sure whatever they can do to get their hips rotated before their upper body rotates, that's perfect.
Go back there real quick again, and then
Okay.
why don't you demonstrate, if you're watching your son do this, what would it look like if you're doing this type of drill incorrectly with that front side as the guy described, flying open or...
Okay, this is incorrectly right there. Upper body goes first, or a lot of kids, they'll come down like this. This can also produce that arm lag. When I call these leaners, when somebody leans down like this, instead of keeping their shoulders level and rotate their hips first, if they lean down here, they're definitely going to experience arm lag. That arm's just going to come straight down. Or it'll even come up and down instead of just keeping their natural arm slot coming through. So you want to make sure that you rotate your hips first, don't pull that front side, or drop that front side. Good.
So I'll go ahead and sit, but how many of the kids would you say, that come to you in Utah, and they haven't seen you before, how many would you say have this issue that just they began with, and this is kind of their habit?
Perfect question. I'd say about 97%. Most of them have those two issues. So most of them can't. They're just throwing with their arm. They try to generate that power through their arm instead of their legs and their hips, and that's why, time after time they come to me and or some other pitching coaches as well that know the right mechanics to get help. Which we need more people that know this, just because there's so many kids that do it wrong.
And it's something that they're not necessarily going to be able to just figure out on their own then.
No.
Yeah.
No, they can, once they feel how to throw with their hips and their legs correctly, they'll never stop going back to the other habit, just because it's just they feel right and it feels great on their arm.
Yeah, it's easy. It feels easy. The kids that I've worked with, it's just smooth. And one kid said, it doesn't feel like I'm throwing the ball. I'm trying to throw it very hard.
Right. That's exactly what happens. And then they throw much more. They throw a lot faster as well. Typically, when you throw faster, more accurately, you're throwing the right way, and it doesn't feel like it's like effortless pitching. And so a lot of kids are looking for that. Obviously, nobody likes to throw with a sore arm, so they're looking for that, and they always have, and they always will look for that, how to throw easier. And I just feel very fortunate that I know this information and I'm able to translate it or transfer that knowledge to a lot of kids in the community and online as well.
No, it's good. I mean, it's and plus the benefit is when these kids get their high school, late high school, early college, when the scouts come around, whether that be college or pro scouts, one of the first things that they look for is how easy is it for you to throw the pitch that you're throwing. Does it look like you're working hard, or does your arm look like it's easy for you to do what you do?
Absolutely.
So good. That's a good question.